My name is Dawn McAvoy. I head up the Both Lives Matter campaign in Northern Ireland that advocates for both lives in pregnancy and beyond and speaks against the termination of pregnancy. With my first pregnancy, I was 21 and had never heard of HG. Had really no understanding of pregnancy, full stop, beyond maybe understanding morning sickness as a term. That was my limit of how sick you could be with pregnancy. So when I started being sick, it was really early on, pretty much within the first week of knowing I was pregnant, and that was at around 6 weeks gestation. I thought, and actually my GP thought, that it was a stomach bug, but then it just didn't stop, the vomiting, and that was how extreme it was. As soon as it started, it was, if you imagine if anybody's had food poisoning or like a really violent vomiting bug, it started as extreme as that, and that's how it continued. Day-to-day life was really difficult. Like I said, you still have that idea in your head of morning sickness, so you imagine you'll feel better as the day goes on. And I know some people would have moderate sickness or a minor level of sickness that can last all day, but they can still function all day. So there may be just spikes in the day when they feel sick. With this level of sickness, you don't stop vomiting. So the only way to manage the vomiting was to lie flat on my back. So I was in bed. If I got up or sat up, I threw up. And even lying flat, I still vomited, but it was just extending the time between those bouts of vomiting. The only relief was sleeping. So I can remember not wanting to waken up. I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to waken up, because as soon as I woke up, then you just waited. You waited to be sick. So then there were headaches, probably because you were dehydrated. Excessive saliva is a memory, just actually constantly spitting into tissues and having a bin full of tissues beside the bed. Really extreme thirst, taking a sip of water, counting the seconds until I threw up, having an ice cube and dabbing it on my lips because I was thirsty. That was the only way I could really take fluids, and that was then when I was hospitalised. Not being able to bear smells, feeling just exhausted and so weak. I'd always been quite a fit and active person. When I can remember getting the sickness under control with medication eventually, and we'll probably talk about that, but I can remember then getting up to maybe go to the bathroom and just crawling, partly because I didn't feel strong enough to stand up, but also because actually staying low down extended the bouts between the sickness as well. So just everything revolves around vomiting and trying not to vomit. Exhausted, depressed, anxious for my own health and well-being, but also for the impact on my unborn baby. I also wondered whether I was putting it on, because people, and often well-meaning people, would, when they're asking how you are or they're giving you advice, and still actually, people will say, oh, well, I was sick, but I just got on with it, or I worked through my sickness. People make suggestions. Oh, have you tried ginger biscuits? Have you tried, the anti-sickness sort of elastic band things that you can wear around your wrist for travel sickness. And there's nothing wrong with people wanting, people want to help, but actually comments can make you feel like you're putting it on and you're just being flaky or a bit of a drama queen, which then exacerbates and adds to your feeling of failure and weakness and anxiety and just like an emotional spiral down. So now I would say to anybody who is experiencing HG, there are people out there to support you. Organisations specifically set up to help advise with access to medications and therapies that can help you get through your pregnancy, counselling to help you come to terms with what is going on even after your pregnancy. I would probably, the most important thing I would say is you're not making it up. This is not normal. It's between 0.3% up to 3% of women who are pregnant suffer extreme pregnancy sickness. So it should never be dismissed as, oh, every woman experiences, morning sickness. This is not morning sickness. HG is not morning sickness. Up until the 1930s, when intravenous strips were developed, HG was the leading cause of death in first trimester pregnancy for women. So it is dangerous, but it is treatable. There are anti-sickness medications that women in the UK can access with medical support. So there are reasons to hope, but do push for the care that you need and for the care that you deserve. Don't let how you're feeling be put into a box that limits the access to care and support that you need for you and your baby. The saddest thing, I think, for me is that women are terminating their pregnancies because they're not receiving the help that they need. So as a society, and certainly within the medical profession, friends and family, we need to draw alongside women who are so sick that they don't want to waken up. 1/4 of women surveyed with HG have said they thought about suicide. So when you're feeling that sick that you don't want to waken up, or you're contemplating taking your own life, when you think you need to terminate a wanted pregnancy because you can't look after the children you have, or you can't pay your bills because your employer isn't understanding, etc., etc., there's much more that we need to do to look after women and families who are experiencing what is at the time, and actually even reflecting back on, can be classed as really a traumatic life experience.